Welcome to Team DataFam Tableau User Group meeting number 36. This tug works a little bit differently to others. We cater for more the presenter audience, so we meet at a whole heap of different times so we can get different presenters from around the world. We do have a few more weeks of meetings booked up for TC25 presentations. I think we've got a Visit Sydney one in there as well. But basically, if anyone wants to present on any Tableau related topic, please let me know. We can find a slot for you. We can always fit you in somewhere. To get in touch, please use my email, which is team.datafam@gmail.com. Easiest way to get in touch. Today, we've got something that's a little bit different, but it should also be really cool at the same time. Lari is presenting at a subject called You Spot It, We Squish It, Thanks for the Help, because she's actually on the CX team at Tableau and writes all the documentation for help.tableau.com. Obviously, she knows more about this than me. Her camera's not working, not a problem at all. We'll switch over and you can take it from there, Lari.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. And I really appreciate being here with you guys. This is such an awesome experience. And that's whether you're here live, watching the recording, or anything like that. So I'm Lari McEdward, and I'm currently a technical writer for Tableau, but in a past life, you might have known me as the voice behind Tableau's training videos. And I used to have a poster over my desk that said, say it with snap, long-winded talkers waste time for themselves and listen. So I've accidentally made this presentation shorter than I intended to, but I would love to have any questions at the end, or if there's something that comes up as I'm going through, feel free to interrupt me. This, as you'll see, is for you guys. But I transitioned away from doing the videos about 7 years ago and joined the CX org. And so what is content experience, or CX? You might not know who we are, but I can pretty much guarantee that you've seen our work. If you've ever looked at a Tableau product, you've seen something that CX has done. We create all of the UI, or user interface text strings, in software products. So we're the folks who decide whether a button should say apply or okay or change site role. We're the ones who care whether menus and dialogues use title case or sentence case. It's title case for menus, sentence case for dialogues, except the headers, which of course get title case. So for example, on this screen, you see that hide unused tables in the view data model dialog. I wrote that. And the template names when you're assigning permissions, whether you love them or hate them, you can blame that on me. Custom view, explore, publish, administer, none, denied. It seems, pretty straightforward. It's like, what, 7 words total? I always describe UX text writing as like being a ballerina, not because I'm in any way, shape, or form athletic or graceful, but because if it seems like there's work going on, then we failed our jobs. It should seem effortless and easy. You shouldn't even notice that we're there. Except for, we're also the group that brings you the content at help.tableau.com and a lot of the content on Trailhead, Tableau content on Trailhead. But I will say a lot of other folks and teams contribute to that content as well. So we can't take all the credit for Tableau content on Trailhead. But we are the ones who write help.tableau.com. And I would like to use this slide to introduce something to you guys. We are the word people, so my slides are not beautiful. Please forgive me. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and I would so much rather give you those 1,000 words than a beautiful picture. And this is much to the chagrin of our partners in UX and those who've created this beautiful Salesforce branded slide deck that I'm trying to figure out how to use. We're keyboard warriors, right? We hide behind our screens. So what does CX do? We write, and we edit, and we advise, but mostly we write. So as I explained, things like the UI text, help documentation, and Trailhead. And we work really closely with our partners in UX, which is user experience, PMs, product managers, and the dev team. We also try to align with marketing, support, sales, and other departments to make sure that we're all using the same words and we're all using them consistently. But we really rely on user research a lot and connecting with customers, you guys, and especially things like this. The DataFam user group is just absolutely a spectacular resource for us, as are all the user groups and the community forums and going to conferences and going on conference calls with devs and PMs and things. Connecting with customers is so valuable to us. because we write the things so that the dev team can focus on their jobs, so that marketing can focus on marketing and support can work on closing the support cases. We also keep an eye on things like consistency, voice and tone, terminology, accessibility standards, and things like that. So we're responsible for making sure that you have a consistent overarching experience in words, no matter which product you're using. UX, user experience, owns the visual brand and the look and feel. If they were doing this presentation, it'd be far more visually impressive. But at CX, we're the nerds about words and grammar and all things data and Tableau. But our number one priority is effective communication with all of you, the users of Tableau's products. And of course, the best way to make sure we're succeeding at that is through your feedback. Did someone say data? Well, at the bottom of every help article on help.tableau.com, there's a feedback widget where you can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and then a free-form text box for you to say anything or everything that you want us to know about the article you were looking at. And these comments and ratings don't just go off into the ether. So Tableau is a data company, and we believe on CX that we should be using data to inform our decisions as well. So we have a weekly triage process where we review each and every piece of feedback that's left on our docs, and we open bugs anytime we can. And I will say, I went through and I pulled some metrics, and only about 0.007% of views end up having comments associated with them. But our content gets millions of views a year, so that's still hundreds of data points. And of course, we put them in dashboards. So each week, a human reviews our triage dashboard, and we look at traffic, satisfaction, any big red dots of articles with high traffic and low ratings. And then we look at every single comment we receive. And not only do we read every comment, whether or not that takes Google Translate to help out, we also file defects on our own content, and we report back to the product team when it's feedback about the product itself rather than documentation. And guys, we love it. Not just for the joy of matching the appropriate or the best emoji reaction we can find for every given comment. We genuinely thrive on seeing this feedback. Everyone who works in feedback triage is 100% volunteer. This was a grassroots efforts that came up. We realized that we had this data accumulating in the back end, and we're all like, well, how do we get it? What can we do with it? So our feedback Slack channel is a high traffic zone, completely self-serve volunteer. The writers are doing this for ourselves. So every week they go through and they pull out they look at all the feedback, all the traffic, any suspicious trends, file defects, and then kind of give us a highlight or low light. And as authors, we also monitor our own topics for trends. So obviously I'm only going to shame myself. So I'll proceed to give you guys a couple examples of times that I dropped the ball on my own content and got some extremely useful alerts from our dear readers, you guys. So one of them was in August of last year, I came across a ton of negative votes for a single topic in a short period of time. Clearly, something was not going on well here. And I checked the topic, and on the surface, it seemed like it was doing what it's supposed to be doing. It was telling you how to turn on and off the feature, but it really clearly wasn't meeting the needs of users. And so I decided that it needed to have more information about when to use the features, not just how. So I gave this topic a facelift. Did I fix the issues? You tell me. Head over to this topic and give me some feedback. And I am serious there. Go take a look. I have not gotten very many votes on this topic since I revamped it, and I genuinely don't know if I hit the mark or not. A better example, though, is another area that I own is calculations. So whether that's LODs, table calcs, standard functions, that's something that I oversee. And a while back, this came up in triage. Why would you not include the strings you can use in date part? Am I supposed to guess? And you guys, I truly did love getting this comment. Even though I can feel the frustration in those, count them, 7 question marks, this is an actionable piece of feedback. So to be fair to myself, the information about that date part argument is in the topic. It's at the very bottom, very bottom. And it's not always immediate or immediately obvious given the long list of functions that we support for date functions. But this was a really easy fix. All I had to do was go in and add links for each of the functions that takes date part to the section at the bottom with details on how it works. Easy thing to do, everybody wins, but I didn't think of it until someone pointed it out for me. An even bigger example was we kept getting feedback that the CSV guidelines topic was not useful. And one of the comments was like, we need an example of what this should look like. And yeah, that's extremely fair feedback. So I went into the topic and it ended up being a massive, massive overhaul. I knew I needed to clarify right up front what fields needed to be in each file for each scenario and just make that extremely easy to access information. So all of the information had previously been in the topic, but it wasn't organized well enough. And so I went in and said, okay, here are the fields you need, and here's a reminder of it, and then here's the details. Is it required, ignored? Is it optional? What are the allowable values in each column? What are details about the various things? What happens if you're using Tableau Cloud Manager versus not? All that kind of stuff. And tried to revamp it based on that feedback we'd gotten about how things weren't clear. So I'm sure that this topic still isn't perfect and that not everyone is going to get what they need from it. But I hope it's an improvement because folks left feedback saying it wasn't meeting their needs, which means we were falling down on the job. So it really is a collaborative process. And we know that it takes time and it takes effort to actually go in and give feedback. Even just a yes or no, was it helpful, is useful. And we track those trends, but the comments actually really are where it's at and where we get the most value. We truly want to hear from you. Many of us on the CX triage feedback team, this is our happy place. We go in and look at that channel and access the dashboard. We have 20 minutes between meetings and we're like, oh man, I gotta get into some sweet, sweet typo squishing. Or we're having a bad day and we're like, oh, where's something where I can really just go in and fix something for someone who is frustrated enough to leave a piece of feedback for us. I do want to mention that the feedback form on the help is not connected to the support team. You're not opening a case. We can't follow up with you, but we do try our best. We can't address everything that people find frustrating. We have some limitations in what our backend system can support. What works for one person isn't what works for someone else. And we also have to prioritize making sure there's documentation for new features before we get to some of the nice to haves of tweaks. But every data point does matter, and we see and try to act on everything you say. So please keep it coming. And thank you to everyone who's ever given feedback, whether it was in person, in a thumbs up, in a comment, however it was. We value your feedback so much, and we try to do our best for you guys, because at the end of the day, if we're not helping you, we are not doing our jobs.
Awesome. That was good. Any questions? I've probably got a ton, but anyway. I just, Lari, just on what I do, and I think what Diego does as well, is I might not read all the help, but I link it a lot in the community forums, because a lot of people, it just feels like people don't bother reading documentation. Maybe they're not finding the documentation the right way, but but even I was trying to track your links and put them in the chat as well. I was sort of worried when I saw your screenshot saying, oh, in a CSV file, the order of columns is significant. I'm like, what? Oh, okay, but when we're adding users to cloud or server using a CSV file, yes. And it's all those little things about when you know, when I'm consulting on site, I need to know these answers quickly. Maybe I don't know them. Maybe I'm just trying to refresh my memory on them, whatever the feature is. So having that highlighted box is really good, because you can go, right, okay, no headers. The order is significant. You know, there's these little things that we need to come up with as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we are the first to admit that people don't read our content. But we want to have is we want to try to meet the goals of the folks who are just skimming through to say, wait, does it come username then password or password then username? Whatever would, who knows? But as well as the folks who are like, I really want to figure out why this is happening. Teach me what's going on. Let me learn how Tableau's thinking. So we want to try to structure our content in such a way that whether you're just glancing at it, trying to complete a task you're working on, or trying to learn for your certification, for your education, for your personal edification, that the content is there for you. So Angela, I see you have a question. How often do we incorporate tips, tricks, and hacks from YouTube into the official documentation? As often as we can. So we try to have as good of relationships as possible with folks like Tableau Tim and Jonathan Drummy and ambassadors and things. So back in the days when I was in product marketing, I had a lot closer ties to those folks. But we definitely do try to scan what are people presenting at Tableau, what's being posted on YouTube, what's happening in Twitter and Makeover Monday and things like that. And we'll go in and we'll say, hey, people are coming up with this particular hack. Like, should we document that? Or, oh my gosh, people are asking a ton of questions and offering solutions on how to do this particular thing. We have documentation, but we don't cover that side of things. We definitely have to update it. So if you see a hack or a tip on YouTube or anywhere else and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish it was permanently as a reference on this page, go to that page and comment it into the feedback box. And if we can, we will. We always try to give credit when someone else came up with things. And sometimes it means doing external links to someone else's blog post. We never want to obviously plagiarize or take credit for a hack that we didn't come up with. The Flair-Lidge twins are a spectacular example of it's like, I can't recap what y'all did. I'm just going to point over to your spectacular blog and say thanks so much. And same thing, if you ever see dead links for things for external sites, we try to give the disclaimer that you're leaving Tableau. We're not always responsible for this content, but we definitely want to try to link and point folks out to some of the amazing things that are coming from the DataFam.
Would there ever be the situation, I'm just talking more about the dead link situation, you're referring to a site that over the years has gone. Mm-hmm. Would there ever be the thing of capturing that or caching it on the Tableau side of saying this is a cached copy of the real site?
Oh, that's a great idea. I know that there are a couple times when we've actually gone back to the Internet Archive and things like that and kind of done the IMD or the Wikipedia thing of pulled from this site using the archive on this particular date and try to kind of timestamp it. But there's definitely been times that we've worked with folks informally or formally. I hesitate to say this, and I'm so sorry, y'all. I wish it was better. But I was working on a performance white paper. Don't come at me. But we were working with a lot of folks in different areas and saying hey, what have you actually noticed out there in the real wide world in your implementations, in your enterprise organizations, and either came up with sort of, licensing agreements to use folks' content or just sort of a, thank you so much. We'll give you a, a nod saying that we talked to you about this. But if someone is, unwilling to host their blog or things are going away and we're allowed to take it into our help content, we have no pride. We will borrow, beg, steal from anyone. Never steal. We try not to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and that was the example I'm thinking of is without naming names or domains, there was a website years ago that had a lot of awesome Tableau content. Mm-hmm. And I know the reason, I won't comment here, but the website disappeared. And the only source of that content is what the Internet Archive picked up. Yep. But it never scanned the whole site. Yep. So some of that stuff's just lost, and it's it's valuable knowledge that just doesn't exist anymore. So
yeah, and if there's places where you can think of where in the content that would go, and you'd say, hey, I used to get this answer from this particular site. Can you guys try to dig up whatever the formal party line is now or what the latest technology is? Because some of the stuff out in the big wide world as well is about, TDEs and things like that. And you're like, well, cool, that's not supported right now. So we have to change things up. But if you comment to us hey, I used to really value this piece of information and I can't find it anywhere, we'll do our best to dig it up and see what we can put into the content, whether we're scraping it from somebody or reaching out to old employees or whatever we can do to try to get that information for you. Because if there's gaps in our content, we want to know.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Diego, I'm really happy to see that you said you've posted some changes and things and it's been taken into account. I'm really happy to hear that, yeah. Oh, and Andy, you're
probably one of the things that is not clear is that you can give feedback, because when you get until the end of the page, you say there's a small sentence that says this page does this help you, and you click yes or not. But probably it could be also useful if you include give us your feedback or something like that. because it's not completely clear that you can give feedback there.
Yep. Yeah, that's a very good point, because it's after you click the yes or no that you get that text box feedback. And it's not always immediately obvious to folks that they have the option to just do more than a like or dislike. So I'll bring that back to the team, Diego. That's a great point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And also, I think I'm guilty of that as well. Is you read the page that you're on, you get the knowledge that you need, and you leave. I don't think how often do you scroll right down to the bottom to see the very bottom saying, does this article solve your issue? I just don't see that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you're never reading to 100% down the page. So that's on me.
That's on everyone. Yeah, that's very much on everyone. And that's one of the things, like when we look at our dashboards, I mean, the industry has some standards around, like, people who are grumpy are the ones who are most likely to comment. So if you see X number of negative feedback, that's because this percentage of people are probably happy and just not saying anything. So our scores, before we learn that as new tech writers, the first time we log into that dashboard, we're like, oh God, we're doing so badly. So we are just trying to remind ourselves, those are the people who are complaining. So we definitely take it with a pinch of salt. But if someone's getting the information they need and leaving the page without ever having to read all the way to the bottom and thumbs up, we still count that as a win. It's when folks read all the way down to the bottom, didn't get what they need, and gave us the information. We value I was telling this to my manager last week, we value the complaints even more than the ones where like, yep, this was great. It's like, I'm glad it was great. But when you say something like, hey, I don't know what options are for the date part argument for date functions, that tells me what I can do to make things better. So if you get your information and bounce, spectacular. If you don't get your information, let us know. We love it.
I think as well, and just kind of follow up on Chris's point, it's coming to those pages with an attitude of, okay, I can kind of help you guys make this better, as opposed to just coming with a consumer attitude, right?
Yeah. And that's something where we realize kind of that this is something that we do need to do a better job of pointing out to folks. We've experimented with the idea of putting the feedback widget at the top, but we don't want to hold our hand out before we've offered you anything, asking for feedback. We don't want to be off-putting or intrusive or anything like that. But also, so we decided to try to go this route of evangelizing a little bit more, that like, hey, if you see a problem, let us know. Or like to Angela's comment, if you see a place where it's not necessarily a problem that we have, we're just not as complete as we could be, if you take that extra second and pass it back to us, it's a group effort. We can never have the reach that our DataFam does. And we appreciate that so much when you guys share things with us.
Yeah, I should try more, because on some of the pages I see where I can't think of anything precisely, but sometimes you sort of look at the example and you go, oh, that's a really simple example. I need, that's what the forums do, but I'm trying to solve this. And as I said, I think Diego does that about daily, is here's the link to, go and read the documentation. There's a page here you can read to learn about this stuff. And some people come back and go, yeah, but my situation is more complex. Yep. And like, well, do we then fold the complex situations into the page as well to say, here's a little simple example, moving up to here's a more complicated example about what to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And so one of the things we try to document is trends. And so if we get a lot of people giving feedback of like, this is too basic, we might need to revamp our strategy for what goes into a help topic versus a KB article. So knowledge-based articles are technically a slightly different form of content from the Tableau team. Those are spun up from support cases, and they tend to be things about like, if you're connected to this exact database and you have this error, here are the resolution steps, that kind of thing, where it's very detailed and specific, whereas the help is supposed to be theoretically for everyone. But there could be sort of an intermediate stage where we're like, hey, if you are trying to do this thing more detailed than this, maybe we need to have a separate topic that goes more into depth for complicated things. Maybe this is a great thing where we can do an industry use case and put something on Trailhead and try to have a hands-on challenge that goes through examples that are a little more complex with real data and let you try it out. maybe we need to talk to the training team and say, hey, can you guys add this to some of your courses? This is something that people are having a lot of trouble with. Or we can reach out to the SEs and say, hey, when folks are working on this, this is coming up as a problem. We need to make sure we're evangelizing the way that Tableau is thinking about this particular thing. And because the CX team covers more than one dev team at any given time, and we do partner with support and with sales enablement and with marketing and all that kind of stuff, we sometimes have a better sort of cross-pollination efforts than those teams individually. Or, we always love getting feedback from the instructors from when they're doing trainings, from the folks who are giving demos to customers, from the folks who go to conference and give presentations. They come back to us and they're like, wow, people are real grumpy about date calculations. And then I go, ooh, yay. Oh, let me see how I can fix that. Thank you.
In a way, there's like too much work there as well, right? Because there's so many subjects to deep dive on. It's which one is the right thing to do. You've only got a limited amount of time. You can only do so much, but
yeah. And I also, when we say thank you, we don't just mean for, the feedback on our help topics or anything like that. As has been brought up a couple of times here, like we wouldn't be able to be in this position, our company, our CX team, our user base without the DataFam. And the folks who are on the call here, coming to user groups, watching the recording, being in the forums, absolutely anything, like this tiny team of CX writers, we could never do everything that you guys can. And I had someone ask me once if I, was resentful of folks who are, building these blogs out in the big wide world and, coming up with all these amazing things. I was like, oh my God, no, they're giving me such a gift. If I'm like, yeah, you have these complicated mapping questions, go over here. I write documentation for Tableau, and the number of things that I've learned from partners who are just giving their knowledge into the world for free has been astounding. So this really is a team effort all around the books, but we just want to make sure that we're not letting you guys down and that there's a reporting mechanism to let us know when we are or when we could just simply improve.
There's Lari's contact details, just email, which is fine.
All of my social media accounts are very dead. I haven't basically touched any of them since I was in marketing. So I was like, it's mostly just my email, but it is open. Okay. I'd love to hear from anybody.
Hey, email should work for everyone, right? So it's easy. Okay, we'll move on to the next section, which is Fast 5. So again, 5 simple, hopefully quick questions, quick answers. I made them a little bit challenging today. I thought you wouldn't mind. Ooh. They're all AI generated, but again, there's no right or wrong answers. It's your personal preference on different things, obviously. And as I've said before, people are welcome to submit questions for me to ask different presenters. I never tell people what the questions are for, but I try and sort of tie them in a little bit. But yeah, today's ones are just all questions from Claude, but obviously I've got to prompt Claude to get the questions out. So awesome. That's it. Question 1 is, what's the most valuable piece of Tableau advice you've ever received?
Whatever you're trying to do, try it first with data you enjoy working with.
Oh, very interesting. Yep.
So if you can find us a proof of concept data set that's not necessarily the enterprise problem you're actually trying to solve, do it when you care about it and you enjoy working with it, and everything goes more smoothly then.
Perfect. Yep. And question 2, what emotions come up when you realize a feature you've ignored is actually incredibly useful?
Sheer joy, and then a little bit of kicking myself in the pants that I didn't notice it earlier.
I thought you would like that question today. And number 3, what's your shortcut key crush? So what do you use the most in Tableau?
Oh man, definitely Control-Z. It's on there, but I undo constantly. That just iterative, go for it and mess up and go back is so useful and so freeing.
Yep, perfect. And number 4 is, what kind of data makes you genuinely curious and excited to explore?
Great British Baking Show data set on Tableau Public as one of these sample data sets is one that I created when I was sitting in front of Great British Baking Show with my laptop. And so that is a data set that I always love playing with, and I am really excited to have the kids be away some weekend so I can binge it and update it with the latest seasons.
Cool. And looking back, how has working with Tableau changed the way you see and think about the world around you?
Oh my gosh. So I was a stats minor in college, and that was something that I absolutely adored learning about, experiments and data and numbers, but it all felt very academic. And so coming to Tableau and seeing the variety of people who've benefited from using Tableau and how every single person has data that they can analyze, whether it's in their personal lives, their jobs, their passion projects, whatever it is, it really makes me feel more connected in my nerdery, and also very hopeful for the fact that people out there have data, they have insights that they want to find, and that they can find a community of users to do it. So it makes me very hopeful for the world and for the things that I care about. I absolutely adore the connections that Tableau has given me. I planned my wedding with Tableau, from seating charts to RSVP tracking to everything else. And it's cheesy, but I do believe that Tableau can help people see and understand data and change the world. And it's really the people at the end of the day that have changed how I function in the world.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you for that. Just switching on to the next tug. So next week, almost at about the same time slot, I mean. But obviously, nice if you're in the US, not so nice if you're in Europe, but everyone can watch the recording, is Matt representing what he did at TC25 this year about the HEB retail media experience. So come along to that as well, QR code, or obviously on usergroups.tableau.com. So this session and everything else that we do at Team DataFam Tug is on the YouTube channel. A whole heap of other online tugs are on that same channel as well. So there's now thousands of hours of content there. Thousands? Maybe not, maybe still in the hundreds. If you cannot sit down and watch YouTube, there's an Apple and a Spotify podcast, so you can listen to it on the go. I usually listen to it and then watch the important ones that you need to sit down and watch for when you're actually in front of a screen. And as I said, if there's any questions, if you want to present any feedback at all on my side, then team.datafam@gmail.com. But again, thanks, Lari, for that. It was awesome to sort of see behind the scenes of that. There's a lot of documentation you guys have got to support, and it's always good for the rest of the DataFam to give feedback and help where we can as well.
Awesome. And thank you, Chris, for the experience, and for everyone who's checking this out. We appreciate the fact that you guys care, and it was absolutely an honor to present to you guys today.
Awesome. And is there any other questions before we finish? Diego was saying, I do the REST API methods. I recommend to include if methods support JWT authentication in a standardized way.
I should get you in touch with the API writers, Diego, because I don't know. But yeah, if you, my email's on there, lmcedward@salesforce.com or tableau.com or tablewsoftware.com. They all come to me. Let me know, and I will work on getting an answer for you for that, because it definitely should be documented for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I will email you.
Okay, it looks like we're not getting anything else. That's it for the meeting. Again, thanks Lari, for your time.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks, Lari. Thanks, Chris. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Okay,
both.
bye.
Take care.